You ever play a video game and just wonder how it all works? I'm not talking about the story or the graphics, but the really basic stuff. How does the game know when your character bumps into a wall? Or when a laser blast actually hits its target? It feels like magic, but it's really just math. And the way it works, well, it's surprisingly clever.
Right. This is the big question. See, in the world of a game, everything, every character, every bullet, every wall, is really just a bunch of simple shapes. So what we're really asking is, how does a computer figure out when two shapes on a screen are overlapping? It sounds like it should be this crazy complicated problem, but the answer? It's actually beautiful in its simplicity. So, to guide us on this little journey, we're going to look at this book called When Shapes Fight by Corey B. It's a deep dive into something called 2D collision detection, but here's the cool part. It wasn't written for math whizzes. It was written for curious people, for people like you and me who just want to know how things work. And it starts from a place you would never expect. And this is where the story gets really human. This isn't just some dry technical manual. This book was actually born from a deeply personal experience. The author, Corey B., he dedicated it to a woman named Erica, and its entire creation is tied up in her journey through what he calls an unfair, challenging, and truly horrible year. He explains that writing this book, well, it became his way of coping. It was something to keep his mind busy while waiting around in hospital rooms or sitting by during treatments. It became this background project that suddenly took on a really profound new meaning. A technical project, yeah, but one that came from a place of love and support. And that backstory, it shapes the entire way the book is written. The author, Corey B., he doesn't come at you like he's some math genius. In fact, he does the exact opposite. He says he's probably just like you, someone who is, at their core, simply curious. He's a hobby coder, right? And he got super frustrated trying to learn this stuff on his own. He found that most of the guides and resources out there just went way too fast, or they were packed with dense, complex math. They felt completely inaccessible if you weren't already an expert. And this is just the perfect analogy for the problem he wanted to solve, isn't it? You get the first, simple step, and then you're just left with this impossible leap to the finish line. This book was written to fill in that huge gap, to actually show you step by step how to draw the rest of the owl. So to even get to the whole collision detection problem, the book first tackles something even bigger, our relationship with math itself. It's all about reframing how we look at math, not as this scary subject from school, but as a practical set of tools that any of us can use. He asks this question directly, because he knows a lot of us have some, math anxiety. But he argues that, for the most part, the answer is no. We use math constantly without even realizing it, from figuring out a budget to navigating through traffic. We just don't call it doing math. I absolutely love this definition. It yanks math out of the textbook and plants it right back in the real world. It's not about a bunch of random rules. It's a language we invented to describe reality. And when you think about it that way, it just feels so much more approachable. And this is the core of his whole approach. He lays out this simple, but really powerful, method for tackling any complex problem, not just this one. First, you break the problem into the tiniest pieces you can. Then, you handle the parts you already get. After that, you go learn what you need for the parts you don't. And finally, you just put it all back together. It's like a universal roadmap for learning anything. All right, so with that new mindset, let's get back to our shapes. How do we tell if they're fighting, if they're colliding? The book builds up to this really popular and incredibly clever trick that we can just call the shadow test. This quote, it's featured right in the book, and it's basically the entire philosophy behind the solution. Think about it. Instead of trying to prove that two shapes are colliding, we're going to flip the whole problem upside down. We're going to search for absolute proof that they are not colliding. Okay, picture this. Imagine you're shining a flashlight on two shapes. As you move the flashlight all around them, they cast shadows on a wall behind them. Now, if you can find just one single angle, just one, where their shadows have a gap between them, then you know for a fact the shapes are not touching. It's only if their shadows overlap from every single angle you check that you can finally say, okay, they're colliding. It's all a process of elimination.
And that simple, totally elegant idea, that's the foundation of a very popular algorithm used all over game development called the separating axis theorem, or SAT for short. By breaking the problem down and just looking at it from a different angle, a really complex question becomes a series of simple tests.
So what you realize is that this journey into collision detection, it teaches us something way bigger. It's about more than just video games or how to code. It's really a lesson in how to approach learning and problem-solving in general.
So what are the big takeaways here? First, that math is just a tool for describing the world. It's not a test you have to be afraid of. Second, any big, scary problem becomes manageable if you just break it down into smaller pieces. Third, you don't need to be an expert to start something new. As the author shows us, your own curiosity is the only thing you really need. And finally, that sometimes a really difficult personal journey can be the very thing that inspires a powerful purpose.
This explainer, and the incredible book it's based on, really gives us a new way of thinking. It's a reminder that even the most intimidating challenges, they can be understood and they can be overcome one small piece at a time. So the only question left is the one right there on your screen.